Andrew, the label feels like a tiny tax form. Calories, grams, milligrams, percentages, ingredients, claims on the front. If somebody has 20 seconds in an aisle, what should they read first, and what should they ignore until later?
First is serving size, because it controls every other number. If a label says 2/3 of a cup, but your bowl is 2 cups, you are not eating the printed sodium, sugar, or fiber. You are eating about 3 servings. That means the label is not lying. It is using a defined unit. Your job is to translate that unit into your usual portion before judging the food. Then use percent daily value as the shortcut. It puts grams and milligrams into context for a day. A common FDA teaching cue is that 5% daily value or less is low, while 20% or more is high. That is useful because most people do not carry a mental calculator for sodium milligrams or saturated fat grams while shopping.
So the realistic benefit is not that a label makes everyone eat perfectly. It is that it helps with simple decisions, like picking the lower sodium soup or the cereal with less added sugar. Is that where the evidence is strongest?
Yes, added sugar is a good example. The label separates sugars that were added during processing from sugars naturally present in foods like plain milk or fruit. Once absorbed, those sugars still enter energy metabolism. But the decision problem is different. Added sugar can stack up quickly in drinks, yogurts, cereals, and sauces without adding much fullness. Percent daily value shows whether one serving is spending a small or large share of the day's limit. Sodium is next because it is easy to underestimate in packaged foods. Physiologically, sodium helps regulate fluid balance and nerve signaling, but higher intake can pull more water into the circulation in salt-sensitive people, raising blood pressure over time. The label lets you spot where sodium is hiding: breads, canned soups, frozen meals, deli meats, condiments. You are usually not looking for zero. You are comparing versions.
But if someone has hypertension, kidney disease, heart failure, diabetes, pregnancy questions, or is on a prescribed nutrition plan, the label cannot decide their target for them, right? It can show exposure, but not replace their clinician's number.
Exactly. For saturated fat, the body story is about lipid transport and long-term cardiovascular risk, not an instant symptom after one snack. Saturated fat can influence LDL cholesterol in many people, depending on what replaces it in the diet. The label helps you notice whether cheese, baked goods, processed meats, or creamy frozen foods are contributing a high percent daily value. The practical move is substitution. Compare the regular version with a lower saturated fat option.
Most label advice sounds like a list of things to reduce. What about the number people should want more of? If 2 breads have similar calories, how does fiber change what happens after eating?
Fiber is a family, not one chemical. Some fibers hold water and add bulk, which helps stool move. Some are fermented by gut microbes, producing short-chain fatty acids and shifting the colon environment. Some viscous fibers slow gastric emptying and carbohydrate absorption. On a label, you do not get the whole fiber biography, but you can still compare. A cereal with 8 grams per serving is materially different from one with 1 gram. This is why front-of-package systems keep getting studied. In a Jamaica randomized trial, black octagonal warning labels improved shoppers' odds of correctly selecting the least harmful option compared with a control label. In Mexican school children, warning labels improved correct identification of healthier or less healthy packaged foods compared with the nutrition facts panel alone. That does not mean every label format works equally, but shows that clear cues can reduce the mental math burden.
That sounds helpful, but labels can also create a halo. I saw research where putting nutrition information on alcohol made people more likely to rate wine as somewhat healthy. How do we stop the label from becoming a permission slip?
The best fit user is someone making repeated purchases in a category. Cereal every week, yogurt every morning, frozen meals for lunch, drinks for the house. Small label-guided swaps compound because the exposure repeats. The baseline context matters. If most of your diet is unlabeled whole foods, the label is less central. If packaged foods are common, The label becomes a map of repeated sodium, added sugar, saturated fat, and fiber exposures. To judge whether it is helping, pick one measurable lane for 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe buy lower sodium lunches, choose drinks with less added sugar, or raise breakfast fiber. Do not expect the label itself to change biomarkers overnight. If you're tracking blood pressure, glucose, cholesterol, weight, bowel symptoms, or medication-sensitive targets, use the label as one input and keep the clinician plan in charge.
Give me the 20-second routine. I am holding 2 granola bars, 2 soups, or 2 yogurts. What order do I read so I do not get distracted by natural, protein, or a shiny front-of-box promise?
Read it like this. 1. Serving size because it multiplies everything. 2. Added sugar, especially in drinks, cereals, yogurts, and sauces. 3. Sodium, especially in savory packaged foods. 4. Saturated fat, especially in creamy, cheesy, meaty, or baked items. 5. Fiber, because it is often the number worth raising. Then use percent daily value to decide whether each number is low, high, or worth comparing. The label is not the whole diet, but it is a very useful steering wheel.